Welcome to the Queen of Positivity podcast, a super fun show centered around positivity and communication with entrepreneurs from all over the world sharing their views on the subject with your host, Kendra Fierce. Welcome to the Queen of Positivity podcast. I want to welcome my beautiful longtime friend Carly to the podcast. So she is a driven, extremely smart, kick-ass entrepreneur, and she just became a new mom to a gorgeous baby, little Ezra. Well, maybe not so little because he came in at 9 pounds, 12 ounces? 10?
Well, we found out today actually he was only 9'5", but he's 9'10" now.
Okay. That's still a big baby.
Yeah.
I have known, she's one of my longest friends, and I'm actually over the moon excited to talk to her. I haven't spoken to her since she's had a baby, and she's got that bright sunshine behind her in a little baby balloon, and I love it. So I'm going to give you the floor. Can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, so like Kendra said, I am a brand new mom, which is so exciting. I have honestly dreamed of being a mom since forever. It's been one of my lifelong dreams, and I'm just over the moon about it. My husband and I live in Calgary. We have been pursuing entrepreneurship for a few years now, just realizing the kind of freedom that we wanted in our life and the way that we wanted to raise our future kids and now kid that is here. And just, we're just, fired up young professionals looking to, do things a little differently than the status quo and really kind of live that 2% life. So.
Yes. That's why we're friends. Always stepping out of the box. We actually met working at Petland, and both of us very quickly became the bosses of our separate parts of the job. So we were leaders together. It was really, really fun. And we were very young, like 15 to 17? You were like 15. I was, anyways, we were young and we were rocking it. I really thought it would be helpful to have Carly on the show, as I've witnessed personally an absolute complete transformation in her mindset since we met. 15 years ago? 5 years before Facebook, guys. So anyways, why don't we just get right to the nitty gritty of it? Can you tell me when and or what started that mental shift for you?
I think I was kind of always striving to get out of this negative mindset that I had kind of ingrained. I think negative thought patterns can become a habit really easily, and it becomes easier to kind of stay in that than it does to break out of it. I wasn't really taking it seriously, I wouldn't say, until I got in a round association of people who were actively trying to do the same thing, really putting in the work to make that happen and not just having it be something that you talked about, but something that you worked on a regular basis, and put good habits in place to make that happen. And so I think, it's been about 5 years of consistency in that area in terms of association. In terms of really hard work, I would say in the past year and a half is when I've really, gotten down to the nitty gritty and been super, super intentional about, the things that we allow into our brain and what, how we're using that information and all of that kind of stuff.
So a lot, just watching people do it. I think that's super important to note. Just having good people around you and having a good network of people, that stuff rubs off on you. It does. And honestly, it is really hard to do it if you're just going to say you're doing it. You have to live it, breathe it, and change a lot of lifelong habits. Both of us are kind of doing the same thing, right? Changing a lot of lifelong habits. So were there any specific tools that you, other than association with people, were there books, any sort of, what did you do? Is there physical tools you can recommend for people that's helped you with this shift from going right from there all the way to where she's literally, there's a sunshine balloon behind her. You guys have no idea. She's always been a really happy, perky person, but I really feel like both of us were hiding a lot of stuff, a lot of emotions and a lot of traumas under a very fake happy mask. But now I feel it. She's genuinely a happy gal. So what are some specific tools?
Well, I mean, for me, it started, I dabbled in therapy a little bit, and there was significant tools in that. And for sure I can.
We're a high advocate of that in this channel. Podcast.
Yeah, I definitely recommend, even just as a jumping off point or as a way to kind of get someone who can kind of work through some of the cobwebs in your brain and maybe give you different perspective. For myself, therapy became a way for me to put on another mask. So I really had to get to the core of why I was putting on those masks, where that was coming from, and like really do some intentional work. So the first thing I started doing was going in float tanks. Float tanks were like crazy weird for me.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about the float tanks because it provided a space, honestly, for just me and my consciousness. It's very similar to meditation if you can get good at that. And then there are a few books, and I did kind of bring them out here. Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Nice.
That one is a great book. It talks about fixed and growth mindset. It's pretty, it's a binary example of what a mindset can be. So obviously there's a spectrum there, but it really helped me to understand that I did have a fixed mindset in many areas of my life and thought, oh, that's just the way I am, or that's just because of this, or that's just because of that. And not taking any ownership for the fact that there is so much growth to be had, even in your limitations as a person, if you want to call them that. So that one was really big. And then this book also, The Untethered Soul, that's by Michael Singer.
It's got a really nice cover. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Horse running on a beach.
Yeah. But that one was really big. The biggest thing for me from that book was that your ability to observe your thoughts and feelings automatically makes you separate from them. So your thoughts and feelings, for me, it made it so much easier for me to take ownership over those, because I was like, they're not something that's happening to me. As I developed my ability to observe my thoughts and feelings, I also developed my ability to control them in a way, or to kind of view them as something that wasn't me. That's not who I am. My thoughts and feelings are separate from who I am as a person. And that book dives into that. It is a trip to read. It took me The Untethered Soul.
The Untethered Soul.
Yeah.
I link all of this stuff at the end of the podcast. So when I write up Carly's bio, I will include these books for you guys. So you can click the link in my bio after for that. Yeah, that's amazing. That's like, I love how we have these people on the podcast and so many different themes keep happening. You aren't your emotions. You're not. And things aren't happening to you. Oh my gosh. Seriously, we talk about this like every day. It's so awesome that you said that. So, and it's true, guys. You can observe them. You can feel them. You can work through them and then let it go, right? How are you currently maintaining your mindset with all of the new changes, new baby, lockdowns, etc.?
I protecting your mindset is one of the hardest things to do, in social media climate, and then just in general, the people that you associate with, if they're not kind of in the same place as you are mentally, it can be really tough. And for me, lots of times the person I need to protect my mindset from the most is me, from getting in my own way. So I found one of the biggest things is journaling. I started a journal at the beginning of the year, and I was writing kind of to my baby in the womb about thoughts and feelings about how I felt about him coming out and all that kind of stuff. But I just found it a really healthy way to process. And it also gave me perspective on stuff. If I was writing something at the end of the day that I'm like, I was really upset about that, and now it seems kind of insane. It's a good way to flesh that out. And honestly, like renewing your mindset and being careful about the things that you allow into your brain, being intentional about the podcasts that you listen to, being intentional about the things that you allow yourself to watch and read, and the people that you allow to speak into your life. And, I think those things, you can't just because I always thought, I'll just make the decision to do that, and then everything else is managing that decision. But it's like a daily reset. For me, it's an hourly reset often. And right now, especially, when I am feeling overwhelmed, with a new baby, feeling like I am out of my depth here. I do not know what I'm doing. Like I'm sure every new parent feels, to have that kind of reset, or have, catch myself and say, where's the evidence for that? Yes. Is there any? And so, just catching yourself in those moments, or even just asking I'm feeling overwhelmed. Okay. Make a list of the things that are overwhelming you. And often you can find that it's not that much. It's actually not like the things that you can't handle, but leaving them in here, I think is where it gets dangerous, because you're counseling with yourself, and being able to, have a community of people, or, a mentor in some cases, if you have someone in your life that you can bounce stuff off and they can give you perspective, is super, super powerful, because it allows you to just kind of get out of your own brain and not counsel yourself on stuff that maybe isn't true, speaking false truths as well as can be
spiraling thoughts. right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. We talk about shadow work and journaling a lot, actually. And that's part of the shadow work, right? Is just getting that journal out, feeling that emotion, writing why. Like, why am I feeling like this? Just break it down to the thing. And again, why am I feeling overwhelmed? And you can possibly just find the solution in what you're writing it down. And then you're combating those. And it's just practice. It's practice. And she's saying, like, sometimes it's an hourly reset. It's okay. If you have to reset it every hour, every day, every week, it's a practice. You're going to be doing it for the rest of your life, probably. But yes. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge you're currently facing, and what's your plan to overcome it?
Oh, sleep deprivation, maybe.
Sleep deprivation. Does that sound familiar for anybody here?
Yeah. No, I think that a big struggle for me right now is kind of trusting in my ability to stretch my capacity and believing that there are things, I have a newborn, obviously it takes up a big chunk of capacity that I didn't think that I had. But just because, that is taking up a large portion doesn't mean I can't do other things. Doesn't mean that I am completely limited to just doing that. And having a little bit of trust in that and being able to, pump myself up and be like, you know what, even if you get the floors clean today, like that is a win. And we are going to take that as a, little things, tiny little things daily, to kind of prove to yourself that you can stretch your capacity and grow in a way that you didn't think was possible the day before, even if it's as simple as washing the floors. Those are the little things I really have to focus on right now, because otherwise it can just be on the list of things that are overwhelming me, which are not,
we talk about, what she's doing, guys, is what we just talked about on the podcast last week with Jose Kaizen. Right? Kaizen, just trying to be working on it, just adapting, being a little bit better than the day before, pushing yourself. How can you tweak it just slightly, right? It doesn't have to be a huge change. It doesn't. You don't have to go 0 to 1,000. You can just, get that one extra thing off the list that you didn't think you could do, Oh, I love it. Just pushing yourself a little bit harder. That's how you keep getting strong, right? Yeah, that's so amazing. So we are going to get a little bit personal here. Carly is a good friend of mine, and I did ask her these questions in advance to make sure it was okay. And I know I have a lot of mom listeners, and so I'm just going to get into it and ask you, because I know that your birth plan didn't go down exactly as you'd hoped. And I feel like that's more common than we know and or talk about. So how did you handle your emotions regarding a choice that was very much out of your control?
Yeah, that was tough. I was planning an at-home natural birth and was
she planned it for so long. She's they planned everything. Like, it was very planned.
It was very planned. We had everything all set up and we were just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. And I went almost 2 weeks overdue and we're just waiting and waiting. And then they did an ultrasound to kind of assess baby's size and when they thought he might be coming and all this kind of stuff. And they estimated his size at 10 pounds, 15 ounces. And I was like,
whoa, no.
What? And so immediately our midwife was basically like, home birth is not an option with a baby that size, because there's a possibility that I got late onset gestational diabetes, which was actually not the case, thank goodness. But it was kind of put out there that could be a reason why he got so big so fast in the last trimester. And so they were like, kind of say goodbye to your home birth, you're having a hospital birth. And then the other kind of thing that was proposed to us was that you might want to consider just having a C-section, because a baby that size with your first kid, and just given the state of how things were at the time, it's likely going to be an induction, which is often a very kind of rapid onset labor, which can be kind of traumatic for mom, traumatic for baby. You might end up in the same situation getting a C-section anyway. So those were kind of like our options. And that was on a Monday. And they were basically like, you need to decide like today what you're going to do. And so we went through this whole kind of, trying to grieve what we thought what our birth was going to look like. I did try and keep saying to myself throughout this whole process, like at the end of the day, what happens isn't really up to you. How this baby's going to come to the world isn't up to you. But we were also kind of practicing like speaking what we want into existence and saying like, yes, we are prepared to be flexible in our birth plan, but we won't have to be because it's going to go our way.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. It's totally going to be fine. Oh. And when it wasn't, it was really tough. We had to grieve that. And we ended up going for the C-section, which was like on the top of my like the worst things that could happen list, a C-section was like on the very top.
This is how we're so opposite, because that's on the if when I get pregnant, that's the top of my list. Just cut it out. Let's get it out. Get it out.
Yeah. And so yeah, we did end up going with the C-section. And during that time, I like basically Monday night, he was born on the Wednesday. And Monday night I kind of had just some meditative time, some time with cards. I did some card readings and spent some time in the baby's room and just like was open to receiving an emotional response from whoever. It wasn't really a spiritual thing. I'm not going to say it's a really religious thing. I'm just like was open to the divine, some sort of divine guidance in that area. Just kind of giving it out to the universe and being like, yo, I need some help. I don't know what to do. Like I had this plan and now it's gone. And, I was super grateful for the work that I had done kind of in emotional stability work up until that point, because I was able to kind of zoom out a little bit and with the help of my midwife, basically say like how you give birth is less important. Like there's so much more to being a mom than how you give birth and really holding on to that idea and being like, and I also think it was a great exercise in kind of surrender of self, which was kind of my whole mindset going into labor in the first place, was that, this is something that is out of my control, that basically I'm giving it up to my body to be able to do. And that surrender of self and having grace in that was like kind of the themes I had for going through labor. And so being able to surrender to something that was not my plan at all with grace and with gratitude became how I made that decision. It honestly was like, it was an easy parenting decision, because I obviously wanted him to come out healthy and safe, and didn't want to go through 10 hours of labor to have it end up in the same way anyway. I don't think we'd be doing as well as we are if that was the case.
Yeah.
And so really trying to focus on making that decision out of those places, just grace and gratitude, and being like, yeah, this is kind of, it's still surrender of self, but in a way that we didn't think it was, that we didn't expect. And so, and we say now,
it's out of your control, but at least you control the emotion that you have around the situation. Right?
Exactly.
You still can have control. It's your choice on what your mindset is. And the gratitude thing, I'm glad you brought that up.
And exactly. Like we, when we left the midwife's clinic that day, we were pretty sure that we were going to go the C-section route. But I said to her, I just need some time to be making that decision from a place of gratitude and not from a place of like, I'm feeling stuck and frustrated and forced into this. Because right now I'm feeling like I'm grieving my birth plan and I'm upset that it's not that. And I'm making this decision out of like kind of angst and like a place of just, I felt gross about making a decision from that place. I wanted to make that decision from a place of grace and gratitude. And so being able to have a few tools of meditation, of just being open to some guidance, and then also just kind of speaking gratitude over the things that we can control, like our attitude and our mindset, then it ended up being the right decision and a great one. So. And he's here, so it doesn't matter.
And he's so cute. I have always been the person that's kind of weirded out by babies. And I even said to her, thank you for having a baby that's actually cute. So I don't have to lie and say it's cute when it actually looks like a potato, because he's actually so cute. Oh my gosh. Like, yes. So let's talk a little bit about a baby in a pandemic. I know we don't like to talk about the pandemic too much because we're all living it. It's all around. It's different for everyone. But because of that, I do like to talk about it from our side. So let's go there just a little bit. What was your biggest asset when taking on the stress of dealing with so much unknown? So you were mentioning like meditation and guidance. So again, what were you doing for like the 9 months prior to that? You knew you were probably going to have a baby in a pandemic, I think.
Yeah, we did know that. And I did a lot of like mental prep for a home birth. That was a big part of that, was like, oh, well, we're just going to avoid the hospital and not have to do anything medical. And we're going to have everything at home and it's going to be great because COVID doesn't live here.
Guys, they went into, straight quarantine, right? How long did you guys quarantine? They were like,
basically as of the new year, because he was due on January 25th. And so we kind of quarantined all of January, picked up our groceries. We didn't do anything. We just kind of stayed in our house. We walked our dogs. we grew a massive baby. That's about it.
Yeah. You did a very good job at growing that massive baby. I'm like, of course this would happen. Like, I'm already scared of having kids. And then Carly's like kind of my size and like my longest friend. And like, we talk about the weird stuff of having kids. And then she goes, has this like massive baby. And it's like, I'm okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
But like her mindset throughout was so good, just talking to her on the phone. And that's why I wanted to have her on the podcast, because I was just thinking, I was like, there are so many moms on here and so many people becoming new moms and so many people dealing with not only becoming a new mom, but they're dealing with a pandemic on top of that. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. So what advice would you give to new moms expecting during lockdowns?
Control the things you can control and let go of the rest.
Boom.
Just that's it. Like in the short form, that is it. Because if I had allowed myself to if I had allowed COVID and the stress of having, even just being pregnant, but having a new baby, not being able to have our friends and family over to meet him and all of that kind of stuff, the train that goes on in your head gains a lot of steam. It gains a lot of power in the wrong direction if you kind of let yourself do that. And it takes up a lot of your capacity. And honestly, your kid needs that. Your partner needs your capacity. There's so many other things that you can give your capacity to that are within your control that you can actually work on and deal with. And COVID's just not one of them. And we can be as careful. And, you do have to kind of balance at some point. We're getting into the 2 weeks. He's going to be 2 weeks tomorrow. So we're getting into kind of the point where we could have some people over. Everybody has to do what's right for them and what feels safe for them. And it's going to be different for everyone, but just not allowing yourself to be bullied in any way into making decisions that don't feel safe for you. And then just just kind of being strong and being in control of the things that you can, and just kind of have tools, whether it be meditation or journaling, to really allow yourself to get rid of the rest of it so you have capacity where you needed it.
Yeah, I like that you brought up boundaries put in there a little bit too. We talk about that. Like, it's okay to set those boundaries. And if someone is trying to punish you or make you feel bad about that, remember that's something that's on them. That's not on you. Anybody's negative reaction to your choices, we talk about that shadow work, right? That's something inside them that's hurting, that they're spilling onto you. So stand your ground. It's totally okay. You just do what's right for you. And I like that. And just control what you can control, which, guys, is all of the time your mindset. If zero things are in your control, you cannot always control your mindset, right? That's in your control. That's just you. So that is something to look forward to. Okay, let's get to a couple more fun questions, I guess, because I've known them for a really, really long time. And I don't know, like, I think I met you guys, like, wasn't Elliot working in the food court, I'm sure, when I met you, or not?
Yeah.
Or like, I met them like pretty close to like almost the exact same time. And they are actually high school sweethearts, which is amazing. We've had some great time. We've shared a lot of life. So other than the obvious like soulmate factor, how do you maintain such a caring relationship for so long? I'm gonna let her get to that, but I want to tell you, honestly, it's so cute. Like, she'll go there, and my favorite story of them is because I was part of it, because I got to see it, and it happens all the time. But we just stopped by, and he didn't know I was there. He'd gone and purchased Nerf guns just so they could have a fun little Nerf gun fight. Like, he's just caring and surprising her all the time, but also takes care of her emotionally, which I really care about. I like that. So, yeah, how are you guys able to maintain that?
Well, my husband is an angel sent from heaven, is how is the main thing. We had to learn a lot. We had to learn how to kind of grow up together, but also separately. I think when you have a long time relationship, especially when you go through as many phases of life as we have as a couple, it's really easy to kind of stay stuck in one. But I think in all relationships, there are a few things that can really help. And the number one thing for me that I had to learn, which was a rough lesson, is death to your own ego. You just have to die to your own ego. You have to. And it was a tough lesson for me to learn, and it was really tough, and I work on it all the time. But at the end of the day, even with having this, having a new baby, I read something the other day in a book I'm reading that like blew my, I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it was like, parenting is temporary, marriage is not. And I was like, oh, Right. Like, I think that especially when you have, a baby to take care of, there's so much of your capacity is going towards that. And you have to remember that that baby is a byproduct of your healthy marriage. You have to keep it healthy for that kid, because you are the example that they're going to see as to how a relationship should work.
Yeah.
Elliot is the example of how a man should treat a woman. I'm the example of what a strong, healthy woman looks like. And I can't fake that for him. It has to be genuine, and it has to be something you work on. And all of those things require you to die to yourself and get some humility and get some humbleness and realize that you just don't know stuff. Like, you don't know, you don't know anything, and you have to be willing to.
We didn't say it here. We don't know everything.
We don't.
Women don't know everything. We don't.
But really recognizing that you have to be willing to serve someone regardless of kind of your feelings. In a lot of ways, being willing to, be in life with someone, because it's just easier to be single. It totally is. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about.
I'm a single lady. It's pretty easy.
And I don't mean that in every sense of the word, like any sense of the meaning. Obviously, like, there are a lot of things that are difficult about being single, but I just mean in terms of just being in life with somebody and having to be considerate of them takes a lot of mental capacity. And you have to realize when you're in a relationship with someone that their needs and your needs are intertwined. When you decide to run in life with them, and being considerate of that takes a lot of mental energy, and it takes a lot of mental energy to be in relationship with people. But I think, for us, it was, like Kendra said, my husband is just a super fun guy. And a lot of that is just keeping the fun alive, keeping, having fun with each other, and being really intentional about just being annoyingly cute.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the thing that I think is also really important. I think they are super cute, and they just act how they want to act. And that's what I really appreciate about it, because like, some people are like not worried. They're just worried. Oh, we're being too mushy again. I had my ex tell me not to touch him in a grocery store because of my hair was in pigtails, and he was worried that students would see him. And he had all these mind constructs about all this stuff. And I was just thinking to myself, it's 10 p.m. in the grocery store. I should not have to be worrying about what I look like to be in your presence, right? Just be happy, together, accepting of each other and accepting of each other's goals. I know that is something they're very supportive of, what each other wants to do. That I really like. So,
and part of that
times,
much of that is creating a safe space for each other. And part of that happens over time, but a lot of that is intentional. This is something we're not very good at, but it is a goal of ours to get good at, is having intentional partnership meetings where we sit down and we have a safe space to, discuss anything, discuss issues in our marriage, discuss issues in our budget, in where our lives are going. Setting intentional time to do that is super important, because it can just get away from you so quickly. And then all of a sudden, you think you're on the same page as somebody, and you're barely in the same book. And so I think that is a big thing, is being intentional about those kinds of things. And it might sound like, oh, that seems like a not very fun thing to do. And it's not, it can definitely not be, but it's really important to have those conversations, because vulnerability, and in some cases conflict, is what leads to greater intimacy in a marriage, is that having those conversations that are tough and that you don't want to. I don't know about you, but even with friends, even with family, anytime I have uncomfortable conversations with them, you always come out better and stronger on the other end, always, either by yourself or as a couple, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, or either by yourself. Just making sure, we were talking about it last week. So the difference between constructive and destructive conflict, right? So both people should be ending the conversation feeling good. That is constructive. Destructive conflict, someone isn't feeling happy, right? So we're aiming for constructive all the time, but that's not always the case. And just like setting boundaries, right? You're allowed to leave relationships that aren't serving you anymore, or serving them. Because remember, if you're leaving it, that's leaving space for them to have something else that suits them better too. So as a whole thing. So we talked about, this one is one of my favorite questions. I like to ask all my guests this. Explain what you think good and effective communication is.
Good and effective communication. With anybody or with a spouse or?
Just in general, yeah, with anybody.
In general.
What would you be aiming for with good and effective communication?
I think there has to be a high level of respect and empathy when you have conversation with people.
Yes.
I think it takes a lot of vulnerability in some cases as well, depending on the conversation. But I think willingness to put yourself on the other side of the table and say, if I was this person, what would this look like to me? Or how would I be feeling in this situation? Has been a really powerful tool for me in being able to understand other people's mindsets or where they're coming from, and also give them grace if I don't agree. I think that can be a really powerful tool, because part of it comes with being rooted in your own values and who you are and being confident in that, because you can just nothing can shake you if you have those things, if you know where you're at, where you're going, having conversation with people. If they disagree with you, it's like, cool, well, I don't have to use your opinion to make my decisions because I've already figured out, where I'm going. But you can't say that to someone if there's malice in your heart. You have to say it with a level of empathy and understanding that they might not be there. And that's also totally fine.
Yes.
So,
yeah. You can disagree with the people, and it doesn't mean they're a bad person or you're a bad person or anybody is anything. But yeah, it's tricky. I think this is important because I think a lot of communication these days, people are afraid to disagree with each other because their fear of, or again, I'm finding when I'm even just disagreeing with something ridiculous on the internet, and I'm like, hey, I support you as a person. I see your point of view, but I'm disagreeing on this end. And then they're saying, oh, you think I'm a horrible person. Okay, well, that's not what we're saying here, right? So it's just understanding that people may disagree with you, sitting on that side, right? For me, it's hard. I suck at it. So do you have any tools for if you have you're really heated in the emotion and you're just clashing heads? Any tools for getting your feet in those other shoes?
If you can walk away from it and take time to kind of let the emotion fizzle out, I think that's a really powerful thing in itself. Is just, you don't have to stay in conversation with people just because you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
You can kind of make that choice to say, you know what, I don't think we're going to have a productive conversation with the way that this is going. So I think we should take some time and revisit, just come back to it. I think that can be a really, really powerful tool. If you're stuck in conversation with someone, quote unquote, and you have to kind of be in those, one thing that I like to ask myself, but I also I get Elliot to ask me is, how is this sounding to you? Because I think a lot of times the things that we say and how it sounds to the person on the other side, there's clash there because they have their own set of lenses in which they're seeing what you're saying. And if they have, skepticals on or something or they're choosing to see something really negatively, then anything you say is going to go through that lens. And so they might just really not understand what you're saying to them because they have this mindset, they have a negative mindset, they have negative glasses on their face. And again, that doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you can't have a conversation with them. It just means that you have to be aware of the fact that the things that you say might not come off the way that you think that they are. And just being able to address that in conversation and be like, I don't think what I'm saying is coming out the way that I'm meaning it to. So what are you hearing me say?
Okay, because you literally just solved exactly what was just happening to me this week. Okay, so what excites you the most about being a new mom?
Oh my gosh. I'm really excited about all the stuff he's going to teach me. Honestly, I'm so excited to just see the kind of person he's going to become, and I just can't wait because he's taught me so much already. I've said a few times and I'm trying to change it because it's not very nice to myself, but I'm saying he's so much better at being a baby than I am at being a mom so far.
No.
which is mean. It's not good self-talk. I don't recommend.
Babies are sent to teach you lessons though, right? That's why they're
totally. Yes. And just, I'm just excited to see what kind of person he's going to be. It's really cool.
Honest, I'm glad you're honest. I think a lot of people think that when they're new moms. It's like I watch it and I can feel the struggle. Like I'm not living it, but I can only imagine. You're dealing with exhaustion. You're dealing with all these decisions you have to make. You're dealing with other moms telling you things. You have your whole family thinking about what you should do. Plus, there's a pandemic. Girl, you are killing it. I am so freaking proud of you. Oh my God. Plus, the baby is so cute. And what's the one thing you wish you had known before becoming a mom?
Ooh. Breastfeeding is hard, harder than you think. You have to have a lot of grace with yourself when you're learning to do that.
Good to know.
That's honestly like something that's like not very glamorous to talk about. But
I would have not thought of that because I'm just like, babies get it.
Yeah, they get it. But it's hard. You got to learn. I don't know. I think that's probably a main thing. I think the other thing too is that I know more than I think I do.
So we just have a couple more questions here. What is the biggest surprise you've had in the last couple of months?
Well, he was a surprise. Ladies, get your IUDs checked.
Oh yeah. By the way, yes. If you want to tell them quickly.
Yeah. So he was an IUD baby. We got pregnant.
Power of manifestation. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always said, well, COVID happened. I always said I wanted to be pregnant by the time I was 30 and COVID happened. And we thought, no, like, we're just going to ride this out and see what happens. Maybe we'll try again next year. And then 20 days before my 30th birthday is when we found out he was coming even though I had an IUD in. So a blessing for sure. He wanted to be here.
Yes. Okay. That's the best. I totally, actually, that slipped my mind. I totally forgot about that because yes, we talk about manifestation on the podcast and everything. And she'd been planning for forever to have that. His baby has an IUD. He's still like, nope, you planned this. You can't change your mind this soon into it.
Yeah.
This has already been decided. You're having a little baby. All right, cool. So we did talk about advice, et cetera, for new moms. You're an entrepreneur as well. I do want to touch that. Just maybe one question. Do you have a plan for tying in business with baby?
We're really lucky with our business platform. We're able to do a lot of stuff online and, building connections and stuff is easier than ever online, which is awesome. I think it ties back to what we were chatting about earlier is just finding little pockets of time and little things. I have daily habits that, go towards our business and are important to that protection of mindset that we chatted about and all of that kind of stuff. So we're just going to push, like I said, we're looking to live that 2% life. I would love to not have to go back to work. And so that is kind of the goal is to build business to the place where it can replace my income and I can be a full-time mom. The long-term goal is to have us be a full family, full-time family, just, raising our kid. Kendra knows it's our dream to just go out to the country and live kind of bumpkin lives and have a garden and ponies and all of that kind of stuff.
Ponies are going to be staying there because they need someone to hang out with them when I'm on jet setting around the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. My pony.
So, with any kind of business venture, it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of focus, and it takes a solid community of people. I think that's the main thing is tying into people who share your vision, who know where you're going. I think that's, so amazing with what Kendra's trying to create in this podcast and in other areas in her business and her life is that she gets how important it is to have that kind of community of people and to find the people who share your mindset and share your goals. Cause you can't do it without it. You really do need an association of people that understand where you're going. And if you can find people that have, gone before you and convince them to work with you for some period of time or to gain their mentorship in some way, it's so important. That has been one of the biggest blessings in our business is my ability, that is my mentor, the woman who mentors me. She has been instrumental in not only my personal life, but in our financial life, in our business. I just can't imagine where we would be without them.
Finding a mentor or someone is so important. And again, like, it doesn't have to be someone wildly 10,000 steps ahead of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't, because that seems unreachable sometimes, right? No, just get someone that is somewhere where you want to go next, and don't just expect someone's going to do something for you for free, right? Just if you want a mentor, the way to approach it is honestly be like, hey, I love you. I love your work. Can I work for you for free? That's the best way to open the door on that. Just offer your time, and then just go, even if that's not how it ends up working out, which most cases they want to tell you stuff anyways. Mentors love being mentors. So just, it opens the door. So if you're wondering how to open the door with a mentor, honestly, you can just say, I will work for you for free for X amount of time. So
and read The Go-Giver. I recommend that book for sure. The Go-Giver is awesome in terms of wrapping your head around what that mentorship relationship can look like.
Nice. The Go-Giver.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it, because we're so used to the go-getter, right?
Yeah,
the go-giver.
It's really cool. It's a super short book. It just gives you some good mindset on mentorship and what that looks like. And honestly, like with any kind of, when you're taking advice, whether it be in business, whether it be in your personal life, my biggest thing is just don't take advice from people who don't have the life you want. If they're not living the way that you want them, the way that you want your life to look like, don't take advice from them. Because why would you? They don't have the fruit that you're looking for. So find people who have that fruit and pursue them like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like, people like sharing information, and someone that you want to have as your mentor, you want someone who it doesn't have a scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. I had a mentor with a scarcity mindset. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. She was horrible. Like, she legit didn't pay my paycheck so she could go to Tony Robbins, kind of horrible. And then it was awful. The whole thing, I was babysitting her kids for free. Like, it was terrible. So just, again, but find someone, again, that has the fruit that you want. Don't just find someone's Instagram and look at it and be like, okay, that looks good, right? Dive deep, check out what they're doing, talk to some of their clients. Don't just go off the surface, because sometimes that surface is very fakeable. So find someone that's got the actual fruit that you're looking for, that tasty, those strawberries, whatever kind of fruits you like, raspberries, pineapples, vitamin C. All right. So that is about all of the questions I have, but I did want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, was there anything that you would have asked yourself?
I don't think so. You killed it. That was awesome.
Okay. Cool. It's only my second time asking that questions, and I said it last night. I was Aquarius. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I did a good job. She just had a little Aquarius baby, and I am so excited for them. Anyways, it's been an absolute slice talking to you, and message me when I can come see the baby, because I'd like to hold the baby. It will be only second baby I ever held. So that's crazy. That's why I was trying to make it the first one. Okay. But then, like, one baby snuck in there beforehand. All right.
I do have 2 more books actually that I just pulled out.
Okay. I love it. Okay. Can you tell us all of the books in a row? Tell them in a row.
Yes. Okay. So Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Okay.
The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Okay.
Really anything by John Maxwell, but specifically Failing Forward by John Maxwell.
Okay.
Talks about how failure is not failure. It's just the only thing that will get you to success.
Yes. I love that, because failure is lessons, guys. It's not failure. Failure is not anything.
And then this one is called The One Thing.
Books. Can we do a book trade? Because I have so many similar books.
This one is great. I'm actually going to start reading it after the one that I'm reading now, because it is great when you are in a place where you really need to kind of focus and get, just put your head down and put the work in, kind of get some grit. Grit is also a great book. But yeah, it's just kind of like being able to focus your mind into the one thing. If you had to pick one thing to get finished, how do we do that? How do we kind of train our brains to keep that top of mind? So
what was one thing about postpartum that you were not prepared for?
They call it the day 3. I had mine on day 4, the day 3-4 cry. Basically you go from it taking, it's the equivalent of 100 birth control pills a day when you're pregnant, to not having any of that. And so around day 4, day 3, day 4, when that all starts to kind of plummet, you get like kind of really emotional. And a lot of women, I was actually going to share this too. This is called Moss. It's a postpartum house. They have an incredible amount of resources for postpartum moms, psychologists, naturopathic doctors, massage, all kinds of stuff. A great resource for new moms. But being prepared for that day, my sister called me actually and was like, "It's coming up. Are you ready?" And I was like, "Not ready." But I was glad to know about it so that I didn't feel overwhelmed when it happened. And also that I was just kind of allow yourself to feel it and don't be freaked out that you have postpartum. There are many resources for postpartum depression, and that's a super real thing. That your healthcare provider, your spouse can all look out for. And they monitor you pretty closely and ask you certain questions and stuff like that. But it was surprising, but it's emotional. It's an emotional time. And, give yourself some grace and just, really kind of keep telling yourself like, you can do this. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to have.
You're not alone.
Totally not alone.
Happens to everyone.
For me, a big thing was learning that, having feeling your feelings does not make you, being a strong, confident, awesome, kick-ass mom and person and woman doesn't get negated because you have to cry all day on day 4 or doesn't, your ability to do both those things it's totally doable. You can do it. So.
Yes. Another really good question. Any advice for new dads supporting pregnant / postpartum spouses? Because you probably have, one of the most supportive angel husbands out there. So
he is an angel. He has been amazing. Keep them fed.
Is the
main thing. We need about 500 more calories a day than when we were pregnant when you're breastfeeding, which is a lot. And so having for friends and family who are maybe around someone who is expecting or has a new mom, bringing food to them can be one of the most beneficial things you can do, because it just takes away you don't have to worry about it. We just have frozen food. We can just put it, like Kendra was so amazing. And I know that's how so many of you found out about our story, was that honestly, we still have those meals, and it's been such a blessing to not have to worry about it. Honestly, I can't even explain the gratitude that we have for just having.
That makes my heart happy.
So incredible. And I'd love to ask Elliot that question and then maybe just message you what his answer would be in that.
Yeah. Cool. So your advice on the mom side is keep the dad fed and he'll keep you happy.
Yeah. Keep the mom fed for sure too.
Keep them all fed.
Yeah. But like I said, when talking about relationships, like it's just important that you can kind of, I don't like to use the language always serve on your husband, but I think that's such an important mindset of just kind of being a servant in that, like,
well, he's doing it for you, right? We want that back. It's not, totally. It's just, you're wanting what you're expecting. You're offering what you're expecting, I think.
Yeah. And there needs to be, there obviously is, there's a big learning curve, and there's a certain amount of neediness that a newborn has to a mom that doesn't have to a dad. So really being mindful of that and creating opportunities for him to build connection with baby as well, I think is important, and allowing yourself to kind of give up some space and, take a 15-minute shower instead of a 6-minute one, and allow dad to kind of build that relationship.
If I only had to take a 6-minute shower, I would feel like I just touched the water. Like, are you kidding me? Thank you for preparing me for all of this. Yeah. What is your favorite? This is a question I just thought of. What is your favorite thing that Elliot does for you as a new mom?
Honestly, words of affirmation. And that is not a love language of mine, but it has been really powerful in this time of just being like he'll just tell me that I'm doing a great job. And that's actually part of my journaling practice as well, is that I write down one thing that I'm grateful for him every day. So I'll put, today I'm grateful for your dad, because I'm writing it to my kid. Today I'm grateful for your dad because blank. And so many times it's because he just speaks belief into me and tells me that I am doing it and I'm doing a good job. And it's been awesome. He's awesome.
I've literally told her the whole time, like, can you just clone him or find me one of those? Okay. But he's a dime. Like, he's a dime. They're not, Yeah, he's a done. That about wraps up my questions. Frick, yeah. So
Yeah.
right on. So this is going to be, oh man, this is such useful information for moms. And again, that's why I wanted to have you on here. You're the newest mom I know. My longest friend had a baby. Like we have had so many weird conversations about babies and having children, having aliens growing in you. Like it's still
so weird.
I just saw her with a baby for the first time on this Zoom. My mind is like, whoa, I can't wait to feel what it's like when I see it in person, like crazy. But anyways, he's gorgeous. You guys are gorgeous. You're doing a great job. I'm super proud of you both. He's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, and baby spreading his love already. And he's only 2 weeks old. So he's got a big mission here.
He does. His name means the helper. So he is happy to help anytime.
I knew he's got a big mission. Aquariuses usually do, though. We're coming here with a big one.
For having me on. It was so fun, and you're doing an awesome job of this and just creating community. I mean, you've always been kind of great at bringing people together, but in having such a positive mindset and being able to share that. It's just like Kendra's little ray of sunshine is allowing to spread all over the internet, and it's fantastic. I'm so into it.
Making me tear up a bit because like I've known you for so long, right? I'm a words of affirmation person though. So you can come at me with that stuff all day. All right. Thank you. I'll let you go back to your babe. He was so cute. He did so well. I'm so proud of everybody. And thank you so much, Carly, for visiting the Queen of Positivity podcast. And you'll be able to find this recording tomorrow, Wednesday, on Apple and Spotify. Thanks for joining us, everybody. That wraps up the Queen of Positivity podcast for today. Make sure you check us out again next week, Tuesday, for more information regarding communication, positivity, and entrepreneurship. Thank you again for joining us. Bye.